It's Friday, December 12th. I'm on the klx230s again, and I'm headed for the gas station, and then I'm going to do what I call the Eddy's loop. Haven't done that since, gosh, I don't know, was it early spring? There was still a little bit of snow on the road. So I put new tires on the bike yesterday. I'm getting old. It took me longer to wrestle them on than normal, but I've said all along the stock tires are pretty good, but I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Pirelli MT21s. Goes all the way back to a DR650 that I owned in the, gosh, when they were still a relatively new motorcycle, back somewhere in the 90s. I always use MT21s on that bike. My klx230s, I put an MT21 front and an MT16 rear on it. And I got MT21's front and rear. I went one size wider on both of them, tried to keep the overall diameter about the same. We should make it handle a little bit better in rocks and soft terrain. Gonna get up to 90 degrees today in Mt Shasta, so I'm doing this ride in the morning. It's a little bit after 10 a.m. Okay, 1.029 gallons. I can call it 1 gallon. That way it makes the math easy. We'll see how many miles I've gone. And yes, I would have had enough gasoline there to make the loop, but given a choice, I'd just say not be scratching my head wondering if I got the range. Okay, so 72 miles. 72 miles per gallon on my last tank for whatever it was I was doing. I don't even remember everything, but lots of fire roads in there, I'm sure. So after I got the tires on yesterday, I took a short ride, and then I noticed that my left rear turn signal was out, but oh well. Always something. Anyway, 70 miles per gallon, doing lots of fire roads. That's not too bad. And here comes the first rocky stretch. And again, I don't really know why they do it, but the tires they put on, the widths are really kind of motocross widths, not really the great or best width tire for trail riding like this. And yeah, it's an FR road, but I'll call this trail riding. Well, it's feeling a little warm. I'd flip up the face shield, except I don't really want to do it while I'm standing up like this. And I've stood up through this whole section, which I have not done, and I don't know when. I can tell I've been riding a little bit more, getting a little bit better feel, and I guess I've toughened up a little bit. Still going slow, mind you, but just staying on my feet and standing, that's a win. I'll sit for just a second. Okay, now I flipped it up. Get a little more air. I had to sit down. It wasn't because I got tired, it's that big rock. Somehow it was kind of kicking me towards it, so I had to make a quick little lane change to the right, and putting a foot down helped. There are rocks out here I would just as soon not T-bone. It would not turn out well for me. Most of them I can go over though. I think last time I went up this, I was complaining it's getting more washed out and getting harder, but partly that was me being out of shape and out of practice. It's just like I remember it from last time anyway. One good thing about this ride though is you get all the hard part out of the way in the first, I don't know, probably 20 minutes. And then it's just a scenic ride. It's very nice. Got me a little spooked right back there. I wanted to sit so I could put a foot down and actually, but right now hard stuff I do a little better if I'm sitting than if I'm standing. Didn't used to be the case, but it is now. So I had a friend who was a AA enduro rider. Excellent rider. He sat down a lot. One of the fastest sit-down riders you'll ever see, but he also was one of the fastest stand-up riders you'd ever see too. I've seen him standing up, pull a wheelie, and wheelie all the way through a deadfall riddled swamp. Okay, so I'm gonna let a little bit of air out of the tires. I had a little bit extra in just for the start. So I'll do that. Should soften the ride a little bit. Okay, I've got this, what is it, a Fantic little electric pump that I will use, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the pressures a little too low and then pump it back up to where I want them. Because this pump has a pressure gauge on it, but it doesn't have a bleeder valve either, so just got to get it a little bit too low and then bring it back to where I want it. I think the recommended pressures are 29 rear and 21 front. And I got a little bit higher. Make sure I get it low enough. Okay. The tire should be a little bit higher volume than what the stock tire was. Main thing I don't want to do is get a pinch flat. I just let a little bit of air out, but that was enough to get it down to 20, so I'll bring it back up to 28.
20 meters. Drone. 3, 2, 1.
Off you go. Okay, come on home. Now, I gotta do the same thing with the front tire. I can't, it's supposed to be around 21. I just made that a pound low, and I'm gonna make this about 20. I really shouldn't be turning my backside to that camera, should I? They say it's not my good side, but I don't have a good side, so. That's just gonna take a few seconds.
20 meters. Drone. 3, 2, 1.
And off it goes again. I'll just let that hover there for a second. Here's my pressure reading cap. And boy, it is warm already. Yes, indeed. Hey, it's starting to look at me. How about that? I'll just bring it back in. And I probably won't fly this again. I don't know if I can blame this on old age or if I've always been this way, but the thing where I set things down and I don't remember where I set them down. Now, I think I had the jacket on, so I might have stuck it in my jacket pocket. That probably makes too much sense, though. No, not that one either. I don't know, what would I do all day if I wasn't constantly looking for something I've misplaced? Oh well, drone goes back in without the cover for the lens. Ah, I found it, okay. That's when I about give up. It was in that back kind of open pocket. Given a choice, I'd rather keep it. Don't want to lose it. Oh, it's warm enough. I kind of hate to put this jacket back on, but you know what? I gotta do it. Selfie stick, huh? Okay, it's just a little tripod. Anyway, back to the motorcycle. As always, it feels hot at the moment, but when I get moving, I think it's gonna feel fine. Much better with a little bit of wind blowing over me. So I put rim locks into the wheels to hold the tires in place on the KLX300. Always did that with real dirt bikes, but haven't done it on this one. If you do that, you can run a little bit lower tire pressure without the tire slipping on the rim. I guess the other good thing about it is if you get a flat tire and don't have a good way to fix it and need to ride it a ways, it'll keep the tire from flopping around on the rim, kind of keep it in place. But I'm really not worried about pinch flats with the air pressure I run on this. I gotta say though, lower air pressures would give you a little more confidence in a rocky terrain like this. It would soak it up a little better. On the other hand, I can't tell you how many times I've had to fix flat tires out on the trail, and I haven't done it once on the KLX300 or this yet. Knock on wood. Again, compared to that early section I was riding, the rocks on this are pretty easy. Now, I could see a little rockier stretch coming up, but I don't think it's going to last for very long. And it still isn't as bad. So we'll see. I might have made a friend here in Mt Shasta who was watching my videos and sent me an email and asked me to call him. I did, and he's thinking about getting back into riding motorcycles. And he's thinking about a dual sport of some sort. So I arranged to meet him over at a coffee shop, and from there, he was curious to see my bikes, so went back to my house and he looked at the KLX300, got on it, and his first comment was, "Wow, you always call this your little bike, it seems big." Okay, now a little bit of a background. And here I am at 73 thinking, gee, I hope I'm still riding at 80. Well, this guy's name is Bob, and he turned 82, I think, yesterday, and has not ridden a motorcycle of any kind since 1970. And all I can say is power to him. He's going to take a motorcycle riding course. Hope he doesn't get hurt. Again, if you're going to learn again, a small dual sport is definitely the way to go. And he's only had one motorcycle. He got it back in the 60s. It was a Honda CL77 Scrambler 305. I remember when I was in high school, those are just the coolest bikes ever. And he rode that thing all over the country. You know, I think he put over 10,000 miles on it. Rode it out in the desert. I mean, it was a Scrambler, right? Back in those days, these special purpose dirt bikes were far and few between. And I would call the CL305 Scrambler, the CL77 305 Scrambler, I would call that a street bike. But for the day, you know, anything you rode in the dirt was a dirt bike by definition. That's how I handled it back then. So anyway, Bob is about 8.5 years older than I am, and thinking about getting into it. And I like to say his power to him. And he says his wife is horrified. And I think we're going to try to go out to dinner with him. But I will tell her over and over again that I did not encourage him to do this, except that I guess I did, because he watched my videos and got to thinking I could do that too. And I hope he can. I really hope the best for him. I'll definitely ride some with him. I won't do this loop I'm just doing right now with him. If I ride for a while and it looks to me like he can do it, sure, but he hasn't ridden in 56 years. When I moved to Mt Shasta, I had laid off riding for about 6 years, and it felt like I was starting over. Now again, I'd had 2 joints replaced, and that kind of hurt my balance and made everything feel strange. But still, I felt like I was starting all over again, learning from scratch. Anyway, the challenging part of the ride is over, but this part of the ride is just very, very scenic. I think I enjoyed it as much or more than the challenging part. And I scratched my head and wonder what the heck would I do? I'm retired. if I wasn't riding motorcycles and making videos, I'd have to think I'd find something, but I don't think it would be as fun. Oh boy, I always like looking at these creeks. This is the North Fork of the Sacramento. That's another thing. What would I do if I didn't have to work on this motorcycle? I gotta fix my left rear tail light, which I'll probably do that this afternoon. Now I hope that if Bob gets this motorcycle, and he still may change his mind, he's got to take this motorcycle riding safety school. I think that's required now to get a motorcycle endorsement in California. I didn't have to take it because I came into the state with a motorcycle endorsement. But it'll be interesting to see what are the reports on that. If it felt like some of the skills came back, or if it felt really alien to him, and what does he think about actually following through on this? He's really excited right now. I'll give him credit for that. I hope his wife eventually forgives him. And Bob says his wife is not trained like Joline is for me. Jolene's used to visiting me in the hospital or going to the emergency room, which I have not done in a long time, but he's never done that to his wife, and I hope he never does. I'm hoping eventually that I'll have ridden every forest route around here that is within my riding skills. And at the moment, I'm doing pretty well on most of them. At that point, I don't know that I'll be exploring so much anymore, and maybe I'll just be going back to my favorites, which would be fine too. When you're exploring, there's always an element of suspense, wondering what you're getting yourself into. Of course, on these FR roads, even if you've ridden it before, there's that suspense. You never know when there's been a down tree or a washout on the road or who knows what. So I looked up that CL77 305 Scrambler Honda made, I think just a couple years, 67 and 68 maybe, but it made about 28 horsepower, just maybe one more than a KLX300 or for that matter a CRF 300 would make. Not much difference in power. They listed the weight as 319 pounds, but I think back then that was dry weight, just totally dry probably. No oil in it or the forks or gasoline. I don't know how big the gas tank was. I don't think it was huge, but anyway, instead of 319, I had at least 20 pounds to it, most likely. Still, relatively lightweight. 19-inch front wheel, 19-inch back wheel. At the time, Bob was in the Air Force, had some friends with, I think, maybe the same bike. He says they rode out in the desert quite a bit. And yeah, back then, you could ride anything out in the desert. Now, I would call that a street bike, but back then, sure. Had a fairly low seat height, which, back then, they made motorcycle heights for shorter people, which is what most people are. But as bikes got more powerful, as they get more suspension, everything yada yada, they just kept getting taller. You can still buy fairly low seat height street bikes. Anyway, gonna be kind of interesting for me to see what he does, and if he does get a motorcycle, please, Bob, don't hurt yourself. I don't want your wife coming after me for revenge. Well, it's funny, you get higher tech bikes like my GSX 8S Suzuki and my Triumph Tiger, and they've got ride-by-wire throttle, and you get to thinking, oh gee, that's probably the way we need to go all the time. And this just has a old-school push-pull throttle on it, which works great. You don't have to have that ride-by-wire throttle. If you want your ride modes and so forth, you need it, but otherwise, no. And on a motorcycle with 17 horsepower, you don't need ride modes. Stop just a moment or take a look at this too. And this is the middle fork of the Sacramento. I don't know how long that's been sitting there, but it's missing all of its rear wheels. It's like it's been abandoned. I think that's been there for a long time. And I'm just about back to pavement. I think I will stop for a moment and just look at everything, make sure all the bolts are still tight before I start going a little faster on this pavement. I'm certainly giving it a good shaking coming around this. Now, what is it that I need to check? Those are still tight. Yeah, my front axle is not coming loose. Rear axle is tight, looks okay. And this rear tire, there's a little line you see around it. You want to see that clear all the way around. And I've had this happen before, but I had a little section, maybe about there to there, that it was in a little bit too far. And my experience has been, I know I was looking online, and they say, well, take it off and reseat it again. And my experience has been, you just ride it on something rough for a little while, and it gets itself settled in right, and it is. Again, that was part of my reason for carrying a little extra air pressure in the tires, just to help them a little bit on seating themselves, but they are seated. Something I've noticed on dual sports, my KLX300 did it, and this was doing it. When you got the stock front tire on, a little bit narrower, and it tends to tip into turns a little quicker than I like. It makes it feel just a little bit goosey. Putting that, well, I think I went from an 80 width to a 90 width tire on the front. The tip in just feels perfect. It doesn't have that slightly too quick feel to it anymore. Again, the stock tires were fine. I used them for over 800 miles on the KLX300. I didn't like their stock tires at all. I think in the first couple hundred miles I swapped them out. This was today's ride, and that's it for today's video.